Hi folks, welcome to session number 16 of Electronic Music Reviews with Scotch&Grey and me. For today, I'm the host of the show. My name is Judy. In the background are chocolate munching Steven, busy with the cables and knobs and chocolate munching. Say ciao, Steven.
Ciao, Steven.
As you surely noticed, we have a certain preference for albums that could stylistically be a continuation of Jarre's early creations. Music that is mainly oriented towards Oxygene, Equinoxe, and some of the following albums of the Frenchman. And some musicians not only dared to do so, but also really captured a piece of that very special spirit which you only find in Jarre's early works. This musical ease of creating entertainment with the then relatively new technology, which is not based on vocals and guitar sounds. Melodic playfulness and yet always a bit of drama, nostalgia and many other special effects. Recently, we already presented two examples of the rare species Homo, musicalis, oxygenicus and their albums. You surely remember Synestem and Anima Infinity. And today, nostalgic sounds are blowing over from Italy, from one who gives us many little flashbacks to the 70s and early 80s in a good 66 minutes. Andrea Priora. So the name of the maker of today's album manages really well to include many references to Jarre's old works in his tracks, both tonally and compositionally. You can always feel a touch of modernity, even slight influences of Italo pop, which is not at all negative because this gives these 11 tracks their own flavor besides the obvious Jarre touch. So I would count Priora among those who are more attracted to the more rhythmic, the more pop-like stuff Jarre did back then. Not to forget, our current album Oxygene Flares is not Priora's only album. There is much more to be heard. But it's always electronic and mostly concept albums. So it is no surprise that the album you are listening to right now in the background is rather none of those, where you would tend to doze off in a comfortable armchair with your headphones on. No, you can say that. Here, actually, your dancing leg wants to shake a bit. The album starts quite calmly at first, but just after half of it, there are clearly structured rhythms. And if you listen closely, you could call this album intro a Priora continuation of Oxygene Part 1. The tender, modulated, eminent organ sounds over melancholic harmonies remind you strongly of the opener of the legendary album from 1976. By the way, in contrast to Jarre, Priora went the extra mile to give the tracks of his album unique names, which already make you curious when reading them, what they might tell musically. And so you won't be disappointed then with track 2, Oxygene Flares, the name-giving track of the album. The samples of the legendary mini-pop's drum machine mixed with billowing phaser pads, typical driving 8 basses underlay the sound carpet. The different hook lines each have their own sound, arpeggios dripping gently over an acoustic construction of electronic wind and other effects. To be honest, you have to work hard on yourself not to think automatically, that's Jarre, no? So Priora probably did everything right, as if he wanted to create a homage to the Frenchman with these arrangements. By the third track at the latest, you know that the present album is not a second Oxygene, at least thematically, while Jarre's main focus on his album was on the good old earth, its uniqueness and fragility. Priora looks at what surrounds us all, the universe. And so the first focus of this musical journey after the two introducing tracks is right on the world behind the moon. Then they travel further at the speed of light, fly past the outer planet, sound-wise, meet the Voyager probe and reach interstellar space. Here, the spaceship Priora slows down its speed for the time being and we float for a few minutes in totally empty space. See stars flashing far away and inaccessible despite the ability to travel at the speed of light. In track 7, we get a feeling of this sublime infinity, of this vast, of this incomprehensible size. And as we float through the depth of space, having a little rest from the journey through the solar system that lies behind us, slow beats announce that we are about to leave the silent sector soon. Hardly noticeable, we accelerate and the journey continues. Track 8 reveals that we will now even resort to new technologies. The speed of light is simply too slow. With the help of quantum entanglement, we jump into the depths of the universe without delay. Okay, this might be a little bit much of science fiction, but once you get into the sounds of this album for a while, let yourself be carried away by the rhythms and the swirling phaser pads. You will not only hear completely new worlds, you will also see them with a little bit of fantasy and good speakers. So keep on following the signals from the depths of the cosmos with track 10 and you will soon reach the musical goal called Polaris with track 11. An interesting mix which reminds us of different creative phases of Jarre. There we hear the typical sounds of an Alka synth like in Rendezvous, mellotron strings like in Oxygene, percussions that remind us of magnetic fields, bass patterns like in Equinoxe and more. And yet all the tracks of the album are independent compositions and arrangements, just as one might have wished for Jarre to do so one time or another. But fortunately there are some creative heads like Andrea Priora from Italy who carry on this musical heritage in their own way and remind us how much some sounds influence and inspire us even though they are now almost half a century old. Maybe that's because back then people made a lot out of little instead of just drowning in an ocean of technological opportunities which the musical input often suffers from. But obviously that's not the case with Oxygene Flares. Here you can hear true passion for vintage sound as well as sensitivity in composition and arrangement. Alright, friends of electronic 70s sounds and musical space traveling, I say thanks for listening. A link to the album can be found in the description below the video. Listen to it, buy it, and leave the artist some feedback. And if you like this session, as always, write us something nice in the comments and check back next week on our channel. If you like, leave a thumbs up and press the subscribe button. You know, then we are pretty happy and my avatar will finally get a better digital haircut. See you next time, bye bye!